Good afternoon, everyone. I like to remind everybody to wave. It's important that we get to wave and say hello to one another, even though we're joining through a virtual space today. My name is Charity Counts. I'm the Executive Director of the Association of Midwest Museums. To start our program today, we at AMM would like to offer a land acknowledgement, and to do that for us is Brenda Rainey.
Thank you, Charity. As we begin today's program, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples who have historically been and continue to be the stewards of the land we today call the Midwest. While we are gathered here for this event virtually, each of us joins from the unceded land of Indigenous peoples. Because many of us are located in Chicago, I invite you to join me in acknowledging the Ojibwe, the Odawa, and the Potawatomi communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. I wish to acknowledge the strength and resilience of these and all Indigenous peoples who have endured and continue to steward the land that I am privileged to call home and that we all are privileged to call home. They do this in spite of the devastation of their land and lives as a result of colonialism and misrepresentation of their cultures and heritage across time, including by museums. In addition to giving our respect for these and all Indigenous peoples and ancestors, this place we call home, consider this acknowledgement commitment on behalf of AMM to continue to learn about and to build relationships with the many Indigenous communities and cultural organizations and their communities in the Midwest region.
Thank you, Brenda. Now for just a few housekeeping reminders as we have additional people logging in, and for those of you who have not been to our other awards events this year. First of all, we would like to make sure you know it's perfectly fine for you to keep your video on. We're hosting this in Zoom meetings so that we can see your smiling faces and the claps. But please keep your audio muted. We invite you to post comments or questions using the chat feature. And also, of course, clap and cheer for your friends and colleagues who are being recognized today. You can do that by clapping on screen, using the reactions, waving however you wish, snapping your fingers. We can see you even if we can't hear you. At some point later in the event, we will have a chance for everyone to give a round of applause audibly for our guests of honor. For those of you getting to know AMM for the first time today, I would like to take a few minutes to provide a little background on our organization and this program. Founded in 1927, we are one of the first museum associations in the United States. Our focus for 93 years has been on connecting individuals and organizations in the Midwest region. It's an 8-state region, but our membership extends far beyond the Midwest. And our community includes traditional museums, like historic houses and historic sites and history museums and art museums, but also science centers, zoos, and libraries. This year has been a challenging year, but it's invited creativity on many levels. The awards program is no exception. For decades, we've offered our awards program in person at our conference. This year, we weren't able to host our conference in person and decided to try these awards community celebrations. We're excited today to be hosting our third event in this series and to feature not just, try our new experiment in this program, but also feature the creativity of one of our member institutions, the Glessner House. We're also happy with these programs that they've invited an opportunity for us to actually get to celebrate the extraordinary work of museums in the region with their neighbors and friends and colleagues and family. It's truly been special. So we're excited that you're here today. Thank you for joining us. Before we begin our awards program, I want to take a few minutes to introduce, our key people on the presentation and on the program today. First, you already got to meet Brenda Rainey. She's one of the members of the AMM Board of Directors, is also on our awards committee. Please wave when I mention your names. We've got a few other board members on this call, some of whom also served on the awards committee. I see Gregory Whitcop, Carmen Hillenberg is on, Kate Kaczynski, Leslie Wright, Jennifer Scott. There may be others out there, and I can't see them on my screen at the moment. Our guests of honor this afternoon are the leadership staff of the Glessner House. So we have William Tyre, or Bill Tyre, the executive director and curator, and Francesca Pepiet, development manager. Also joining us is Joy Tan-Riddell, director of museums and collections at Catalog It, which is our awards program series sponsor. Catalog It is a collaborative cloud-based collections management system. And we're really excited that their company has decided to support this series this year. They've been active members in AMM for a few years now, and it's been a joy to get to know them and for them to get to know us through this program. Speaking of Joy, let's have Joy say a few words before we get our awards program started. Please join me in a round of applause for thanking Joy and Catalog It for their support.
Thank you, Charity. Again, I'm Joy Tan-Riddell. I'm the Director of Museums and Collections at Catalog It. We are really proud to be sponsoring the AMM Awards, and I'm really happy to be a part of it. I also wanted to congratulate today's Silver Lining Award recipient, the Glessner House in Chicago, and William Tyre, the Executive Director and Curator. It is amazing how much of a difference your projects have made for your neighbors, from Ask Henry prompts to opening your courtyard for neighborhood families and businesses to use. You are able to remain relevant and accessible to your community throughout. Congratulations again to Bill and everyone at the Glessner House. Your creativity and resourcefulness during the COVID-19 pandemic helped your neighborhood. I only wish that all communities had a local resource such as yours to help uplift and support them during this really difficult time. Thanks again.
Thank you, Joy. All right, it's now time for the awards portion of our program. To officially present the award today to the Glessner House is Brenda Rainey. Oh, Brenda, you may be muted still.
My apologies. Thank you again, Charity. I am so thrilled to present this Silver Lining Award to the Glessner House in Chicago. When our committee sat down a few months ago now, to review these nominations for the Silver Lining Award, we were amazed by the diversity of actions museums took on to ensure their communities stayed connected with them through the pandemic. But what struck us most about the application from the Glessner House was how their response to the crisis not only kept their current members and donors connected to them, it connected their immediate surrounding neighbors to each other in new and fantastic ways. You're going to hear more this afternoon about how the Glessner House opened their courtyard and welcomed neighbors for everything from religious services to music classes to just a new place to take a COVID walk. And they did all of this in safe and socially distanced ways. And this was in addition to the regular updates Executive Bill Tyre delivered to email inboxes around Chicago, around the country, and even around the world. The Glessner House is a small museum which made a huge impact during this extraordinary time. And I just want to say, in a field full of worthy contenders for this award, the positive spirit and the tangible results Bill and his team achieved made them a clear choice for the Silver Lining Award. Thank you so much, Bill, and everyone at Glessner House. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Bill, would you like to offer remarks?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. On behalf of the staff and the board of Glessner House, I would like to thank the Association of Midwest Museums and their award selection committee for this honor. The success of Glessner House is due to the hard work and dedication of many people, and I'm humbled to receive this award on their behalf. I would like to start by acknowledging my incredible staff. First, we have Gwen Carrion, our Visitor Services Manager, and say hi, Gwen, so people can see your face. All right, she may be shy. We also have Kathy Cunningham, our wonderful venue manager. Say hi, Kathy.
Hello, thank you for the award. It makes me really proud to be a part of the staff.
Yes. And then last but not least, Francesca Pepiet, our development manager, and you will hear from her in just a couple of minutes.
Thank you.
I was also pleased to see that so many of our board members are part of the celebration today, each of whom brings their expertise and passion for the house to their respective roles. Glessner House is fortunate to have an amazing cadre of docents who are our frontline people, sharing their love of the house and family with our many guests. The house doesn't seem the same when they are not here, so we look forward to the time when they can all be back giving tours. I am also deeply grateful to the 4 docents who maintain our social media, an essential way in which we have stayed connected during this year in particular. Last, but certainly not least, I want to give a huge shout out to all of our members, donors, and supporters. Not only have they been incredibly generous to this wonderful old house, their words of encouragement since March have really helped to keep us going and have reinforced for us how important our mission is to them. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Charity to run our sneak peek video.
Dependence on technology.
We're at Glessner House in Chicago, which was the home of John and Frances Glessner. They moved in here in 1887. They lived here until the 1930s.
It was featured in a USA Today poll as being among the most significant homes that you should visit, right up there with Mount Vernon and Newport Beach mansions and places of that ilk.
The Glessners were fascinating people. They were both from Ohio. Did not start out wealthy, either of them.
Mr. Glessner was moved out to an office in Chicago that was selling agricultural farm products, reapers and harvesting machines. And he was quite successful within that company.
The Glessners would say they were not wealthy, they were comfortable. The wealthy people were the Marshall Fields and the George Pullmans and the people that lived across the street from them. The house was designed by Henry Hobson Richardson. He has traditionally been part of the trinity of American architects, Richardson, Louis Sullivan, Frank Lloyd Wright. And I would argue that he was by far the most influential of the 3, certainly in his time period.
The exterior of the home is very fortress-like, reminding you of a medieval castle. And then when you get inside, rooms are smaller and they aren't as opulently appointed as Gilded Age mansions.
The family, the succeeding generations of the family have been incredibly generous in returning 80 to 90% of the original objects that were in the house back here.
And because we have a wonderful array of photography taken in the 1880s, 1890s, and 1920s, that we are able to replicate exactly the way the rooms looked in these historic photos. So a visit to Glessner House is really having a window onto a different era, the way people lived.
We have musical events in the house. We have dinners in the dining room. We have events in the coach house regularly.
It absolutely is an extraordinary home. Because of the documentation we have, because of the way it's been recreated, it looks as if the Glessners just walked out. And so I hope that people leave here having learned something about these extraordinary people and their beautiful home and collections, but also to have a better understanding of the different era of time.
What a great introduction to the Glessner House for those of you who've never been there before. What a great video. Thanks, Bill. For the rest of our program today, the Glessner House team has put together a few different pieces that they want to share with you. A presentation, a couple videos, and some guests who are on who will say a few words. And then we'll be opening up to a Q&A a little bit later. But if you have questions as we go through these presentations, please feel free to drop them into the chat and we will get to them as soon as we can. Bill, do you want to share your presentation?
Yes, okay, thanks. So I'm going to put my video on black and bring up my PowerPoint. Hold on one second here. Okay, So I wanted to show a few photos of things that we have been up to since March. Of course, we closed the middle of March, but we decided by the very beginning of April to open our private courtyard to the neighborhood. Typically, this had only been open during tours or for events that were held there. So we were curious to see how people would respond, and we discovered that in those first few months especially, we were getting more than 100 people a day coming in to look at our space. One of the advantages of the courtyard was that 5 of the rooms of the house face into the courtyard and are accessible from porches. So we put the signs up on the windows, take a peek inside the various rooms, and then encourage people to share their photos. The QR code also allowed them to read about the room and to see a 360-degree photo. And I know lots of people were looking in because one of my tasks every morning was to clean the handprints and forehead prints off of the glass. People came into the courtyard for a variety of reasons. We saw lots of young families with children who enjoyed the private space, people with their dogs. And one of my favorite comments was from a mom whose 3-year-old boy, every day when they would go out for their walk, said he wanted to go visit his secret place, which of course was Glessner House courtyard. I think a lot of our neighbors really didn't know what Glessner House was before we opened the courtyard, and so we had a lot of wonderful comments like this from our neighbor Susie, thanking us for opening the courtyard. So it's been a great way to really just kind of introduce ourselves to our neighbors. One of the things we added into the courtyard was a life-size cutout of our mayor, Lori Lightfoot, and she became extremely popular for selfies, both with people and with dogs, as you can see here on the right. And opening the door also introduced us to some of our businesses who were looking for some spaces. And in a few minutes, you're going to hear from Galina, the owner of Tiny Toons, who will talk about the activity that you see here. It also expanded to outdoor yoga classes, and we were even able to host high holidays in September. And we'll have Rabbi Gershon speak in a few moments. Now, for those who were just walking past the house, we put a life-size cutout of the architect, Henry Hobson Richardson, in the front window to greet people as they were walking past. And twice a week, he would post a new question, and we created a new web page specifically for him, Ask Henry, where people could go and read more about the question that he had posed. Of course, early on in the pandemic, there was a lot of discussion about our first responders, and thanks to the generosity of one of our members, we were able to provide meals for all 250 police officers at the 1st District Police Station, which is located just a couple of blocks away from Glessner House. And it was also wonderful because we were able to support one of our great neighborhood restaurants by calling up and ordering 250 meals. Starting on April 1st, we began our weekly e-newsletter, which goes out to about 3,700 people. And this included lots of things, news of what was happening, links to our blog article and our YouTube videos that we started, and you'll see a few excerpts from that a little bit later on, information about our collections. And we selected From the Mountaintop as the article, because this is where the Glessners would retreat every summer, sort of going into their own social distancing. So we thought the analogy was appropriate. We did create several new web pages connected to the newsletter. One was our Color Our Collections page, tying into the initiative started by the New York Academy of Medicine, where we post images from our collection that people can print out and color. We also launched our online store, which was really helpful as we did launch a couple of new publications since we've been closed, so it made those easily available. And as you've seen with our staff, we created a series of Zoom virtual backgrounds for people to download and use on their Zoom meetings, which of course are now a part of everybody's life. One of the things I really enjoyed the most was our idea to create face masks out of Morris fabrics. Those of you who have been to the house know that William Morris is a very important part of the design. And thanks to one of our very generous members who not only donated all the fabric, but made all the masks, we have been able to provide over 700 masks to date. And this has been an extraordinarily successful fundraiser for us. Each mask has a small card enclosed with it where we adapted Morris's quote about having nothing in your house which you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful, and we changed it to have nothing on your face. And a nice comment from Kelly Klobuchar, who is on the call with us today. And then a few other images from people who have enjoyed wearing their masks. We continue to sell these, and they're incredibly comfortable as well. Many people have said of all the masks they were collecting, these are the most comfortable. Having the courtyard open also led to one day one of our neighbors walked in, and it turned out she was not only a violinist, but she was the wife of the principal cellist of the Chicago Symphony. And she asked if we would be willing to host a concert. They, of course, had not been able to play in several months, and we were able to accommodate that. Not only were they thrilled to play for a live audience, but of course, our members enjoyed the opportunity since all other performance venues were closed. And this actually led to us hosting 8 jazz and classical concerts over 2 months, every one of which sold out as soon as we posted it on the website. A special part of the classical concerts was Maddie Williamson, the Glessner's cook, whose character had been fully developed in a series of programs just before we closed. And she provided these wonderful snack boxes to everybody. And you will hear from Maddie in a minute about that. Of course, we've jumped on the online program train, as have many others. And what's been wonderful about that, of course, is we have found that it has significantly expanded our audience well beyond Chicago. And in a few moments, you'll hear a short video from one of our participants who lives in Perth, Australia. Of course, responding to the protests that followed the death of George Floyd, we were one of more than 36 cultural organizations in the city of Chicago that simultaneously posted this message on June 3rd at 11 a.m. From the president and CEO of the Chicago Community Trust, addressing racism and injustice. And it was wonderful to be part of that larger community to issue this statement simultaneously. We were also pleased to work with the mayor's task force on reopening the city, and in particular the work group providing guidelines for museums on best practices. My last image here relates to our virtual tour, which Charity will show in just a few moments. But we were very pleased that not only the virtual tour provided a great way for people to be able to visit the house during the time we were closed, it also received quite a bit of attention, as you see here in both the Wall Street Journal and with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. So with that, I'm going to stop the PowerPoint and I'll ask Charity to bring up our virtual tour.
Thanks, Bill. You can get to the Glessner House 360 virtual tour from their homepage. So there's a link there. Bill, I think that you wanted us to go into the first floor rooms today. Yep. So we'll just briefly tour through on the first floor. You can look around inside the beautiful home. And I think we'll go into the parlor. For those of you who are AMM members and received our update earlier this week on Election Day, you might have seen Bill playing the piano in this room. Bill, how long did it take to put this virtual tour together?
You know, we worked with a great photographer who does this sort of thing, and we just helped him kind of organize. You can see with the arrows, you can click from room to room, and it was actually a great process. We did this last summer, not realizing how valuable a tool it was going to be in 2020.
Great. So for the next part of our program here, I know that the Glessner House has invited, as Bill mentioned, a few friends and team members to share a few words today. I'll let Francesca take it from here.
Thank you. So this Silver Lining Award has the name of Glessner House printed on it, and we are honored by this award recognition. But the person responsible for the quick response and resourcefulness during this COVID pandemic is our executive director, Bill Tyre. I mean, he helped the staff keep working, but he also kept our loyal supporters and docents and volunteers informed by creating the weekly newsletter that he mentioned with announcements about activities. You know, as the development manager, I was particularly concerned with the impact that the closure would have on our fundraising, especially since we were forced to cancel our A Walk Through Time fundraiser in June. However, Bill's idea of creating the William Morris face masks as a thank you gift for donations resulted in us raising more money than the fundraiser would have done, and creating those hundreds of thank you letters to donors during the summer. I saw the wonderful comments that people made and fully realized how important Glessner House was to them. So Bill's opening of the courtyard was transformative in connecting Glessner House with the surrounding community. You know, because my office overlooks the courtyard, and on the days when I'm able to come in to work and not work from home, I love watching the people enjoy the courtyard. Parents with children, I think you saw some pictures of these in Bill's presentation, and people walking their dogs, and those who want to come in and find a quiet place to read a book or just escape to our beautiful courtyard during these crazy times. So you've already heard about a lot of our initiatives and things that were undertaken this year. So although this award is honoring our wonderful Glessner House, the true muscle behind this movement is our executive director and curator, Bill Tyre. I know he hates when I do that, but I had to.
I'm glad you did.
Yes, thank you so much, Francesca. That was really incredibly kind of you, so I appreciate that. But as I say, I thank the whole team as well. There are a couple of people that I did ask to say a few words. And so I'd like to start out by inviting the Glessner's cook, Maddie Williamson, to share a few comments with us. So I turn it over to Maddie.
Hello, my name is Maddie Williamson, and I'm Mr. and Mrs. Glessner's cook. I understand there's a great deal of interest of late in what cooks and other servants do. I was once paid a very great compliment by a man who told me that I play my cook stove the way a concert pianist plays a piano. Well, I was complimented, and I liked that analogy very much. The cook stove may make the music, but just as in an orchestra, the piano might need some help. She can't do it all on her own. In the music that I make with food, there are many, many parts. There are the ingredients. Who grew them? Where do you get them? How do you get the best price? Keep them fresh and avoid wasting them. Then there are the pots and pans. They must be of excellent quality and very, very clean. Then you must also have recipes and the other tools, such as spoons and pot holders and screens and pastry cloths and rolling pins and crimpers and cherry pitters. And I believe I should stop there because it really is a long list of what it takes to make 6 or sometimes 7 meals for the entire family and staff and guests every single day. And I will stop here because I believe there's somebody over there who looks like I might have made them tired. I will look forward to cooking for you the next time you're guests of the Glessners in Chicago. And if you're a servant or a delivery person, just come around to the back. I'll fix you something special. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Maddie. It was delightful to have you with us. And I will say that one of the new web pages that we added this summer was Cooking with Maddie, who provides historic recipes and some wonderful background information about those. So for anybody who has an interest in cooking and learning more about cooking through time, we are grateful that Maddie shares all of her extensive knowledge with us. And we look forward to having Maddie with us in future programs. All right, the next person that I would like to ask to say a few words, I referenced earlier that we were able to host high holidays here during September. And so I'd like to ask Rabbi Mordecai Gershon to say a few comments.
Hi, thank you very, very much for putting this together. To the Association of Midwest Museums and to the Glessner House. I'll just share quickly. I was asked to speak very short. I don't know if they know that you don't give a rabbi just a short time to speak, but I'll try to do it anyway. First of all, I'd like to say that Bill probably doesn't even recognize me right now because I don't think he's ever seen me without a face mask on. And that just goes to show that we've developed this beautiful and deep relationship over the last few months, which is, I think, what this program is all about, the silver lining. So as Bill mentioned, we hosted, first we had a small, like a family event for our son who was turning 3, and then we were so excited about the way the courtyard was able to host it, and we continued by hosting the high holiday services there for the South Loop community and the neighborhood. We live just a few blocks away from the Glessner House. I just want to share one small thing that happened that relates to the high holiday services. There was a woman named Rebecca that I was visiting shortly before the Rosh Hashanah, and she's an older woman, and she lives on Prairie Avenue, actually. And I was bringing her a honey cake for Rosh Hashanah, and she came down to the lobby to meet me, and she had a really, really down look on her face. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, this is going to be the first year that she's not going to be able to celebrate the high holidays and without family and everything, and it's really, really eating at her. And I told her, you obviously, you know, do you know that we're actually hosting high holiday services right across the street at the Glessner House in the courtyard, with social distancing and everything open to all. There's no tickets or membership necessary. Everyone is welcome. And immediately her face just lit up, and it literally changed her attitude to everything. And of course, just a few days later, she was there to hear the chauffeur at the Glessner House. And I want to just say that this is one of many. There were so many small stories like this of people, and even, you know, people that you know, in regular years don't have somewhere to go, but here we had that opportunity to have the community in the courtyard of the Glessner House in a safe way. And it's a big, big thanks to the Glessner House, and a huge thank you to Bill Tyre for taking care of every, you know, there's a lot of nuances in the Jewish tradition, and especially around the high holidays and how they adapted to everything and understanding all of it. And really no task was too large for Bill. And I just want to again say a really, really big thank you to them. And in fact, there were some people who said after the high holidays that they want to do it there every year, even post-COVID. So that just goes to show how appreciative the community is to the Glessner House for the amazing high holiday experience. So again, a big, big thank you to Bill and to the entire Glessner House team. And you guys are very, very deserving of today's honors and awards. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was really great. And you're right, I'm not at all used to seeing you without a mask on, so that is good. And you know, the name of the award today, the Silver Lining Award, one of the things that I think is so appropriate about that is I think about how easily Glessner House and the rabbi, we could have never actually connected had it not been for this pandemic. Obviously, nobody wanted the pandemic, but there is always a silver lining to a cloud, and we look forward to a long, continuing relationship with him and the entire Jewish community here in the South Loop. Now, another person we would have never met, of course, is the next person I asked to speak. Her name is Galina, and she runs what is called Tiny Tunes. You saw a couple images of them in the courtyard, and she approached us early on after we had opened up, so I'd like her to say a few words.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Bill, for having me on here. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. Thank you for having me, Bill. Congratulations. This award is very well deserved. Like Bill mentioned, I'm the owner of Tiny Toon Studio, a neighborhood studio offering group music classes to children ages 0 to 4. Like most everybody else, I had to close down my studio in March due to the pandemic. And when things started to slowly open up, I knew it wasn't safe to continue doing these classes in my tiny space. So I did approach Bill to see if he would be open to hosting music classes in the beautiful courtyard of the Glessner House. And he said yes. I mean, needless to say, I was so excited to do it there because, come on, Glessner House, it's amazing. But also because I was just excited to continue doing what I very much love, which is bringing early childhood music education to little kiddos and bringing the community together. From 2.5 years of doing this, I noticed that new parents often struggle with building the new community with other new parents. And I feel strongly about building such a community where moms are able to bring their little ones to a safe and warm environment while having a chance to bond with other moms. Bill has enabled me to continue this mission of mine, and I am just so thankful and honored to be working alongside him. Bill is such an integral part of this community here in South Loop of Chicago, and we're super lucky to have him. To be able to use the beautiful space that is the Glessner House is a privilege, and I think I speak on behalf of my team and the parents that attend my classes. We are thankful, forever thankful, to be able to get together safely at the Glessner House, and we thank Bill wholeheartedly for being such a welcoming and gracious host. Thank you, Bill. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you, Galena. That was great. And I realize this is also the first time I've ever seen your face, because the first time you came in, we were already all wearing masks. And one of the things I have particularly loved about hosting Tiny Tunes is, of course, the Glessners were two of the founders of the Chicago Symphony. Music was an integral part of their life, and so I feel that's just really continuing that wonderful tradition of music here in the house. So thank you again for your remarks.
Thank you.
Charity, I'm going to throw it back to you. I believe we have a few excerpts from one of our Secrets of Glessner House videos.
Yes, and then I think we might need an intro for you for your friend from Perth, Australia, who we have a video from.
Oh, yes. Actually, if we can go ahead and play that first before the Secrets video.
Yep. Do you want to explain who this is one more time? You've got.
Yes. So this is Colleen Mortimer. She had visited the house in 2019 and really loved it, and had put her name and email address down on our list. And once we started doing the e-newsletter, I started corresponding with her. She called and whatever. And so she's just talking briefly about how much she appreciates it, even though she's in Perth, Australia, which is now 14 hours ahead of us. She's been able to stay connected with Glessner and our programs.
Greetings from Perth, Western Australia. I fell in love with Glessner House in July 2019. After COVID struck, I thought I'd never see it again for a long time. But then Bill came up with his webinars. And thanks to the webinars, I found out a lot more about Glessner House, the Glessners, Fanny and her forensic science, the Nutshell series, and the Fountains of Chicago and Prairie After Dark. So to Bill and your team, the webinars were fantastic, and congratulations on your award.
Great. I know that it might have been a little bit challenging to hear what she was saying, but she really loved the webinars that Bill's team offered this year. Up next is the Secrets of Glessner House excerpt.
Welcome to part 7 of our series, Secrets of Glessner House. Today, we are going to look at the burglar alarm. Here we see a photo of the Glessner's bedroom as it appeared about 1888. The box mounted to the wall at the left-hand side of the photo is the burglar alarm panel. You might ask why it would be located in their bedroom. We are now standing in the Glessner's bedroom, viewing the same part of the room visible in the historic photograph. When the bedroom door is open, it conceals the alarm panel. But when the door is closed, you can see the panel in its historic location. It was placed in the bedroom so that if it went off during the night, it would be easily heard by John Glessner, and he could quickly see what part of the alarm system had been tripped. We hope you have enjoyed learning more about our latest secret of Glessner House. Tune in next time as another secret will be revealed.
Wonderful. Bill, thank you so much for, and to the team at Glessner for preparing the wonderful presentation today and the videos for us. It really paints a picture of the work that you've done this year, but also what your museum, what the house is all about, well beyond pandemic year and the Silver Lining Award. Before we dive into Q&A, I would like to invite everybody who's on our call today to unmute, and let's give one round of applause, however you wish. You can cheer to Bill and Francesca and the team from Glessner for their Silver Lining Award.
Hey!
Yay!
Bill and Glessner.
Yay! Yay!
So we're so proud to be able to call Glessner House one of our own in the AMM community. So now I'd like to welcome all of you, that we all joined from different sort of, I guess, connections with the Glessner House. Some of us are colleagues of the museum, and others are friends and family members and co-workers of Glessner House. But please, I welcome all of you if you have questions about what you learned about today with the Glessner House work, House's work, or just burning questions you've had for Glessner House, just generally, into the chat. I'm going to start off with one question I have about that last video that you shared, Bill, the secrets of Glessner House. I don't know if you all noticed this, but it's like there's a ghost in the room closing that door. And I want to know, Bill, how you filmed that. Who shut the door?
Yes, so Kathy Cunningham, our venue manager, is the one that does all the video work for us. And when we started doing these videos, I said, one of the things I want to make sure is that nobody sees me in the videos. So we can't, and of course, with a number of the secret videos, we had to open or close a drawer or a door or something like that. So we actually came up with the idea of using a wire. And in that case, the wire was tied to the doorknob, and I was off to the left side, and at the appropriate moment, I closed the door. And what I didn't realize is that the little wire actually went viral, because all sorts of people started asking exactly the same question. How do you open and close things and we never see you? And so what started out as something just to keep me out of the way actually became a really fun part of the videos we produced.
I love it. Somebody posted in the chat, they're calling it the tire wire.
Works for me.
We did get a question. Will Glessner House continue to offer access to the courtyard and offer any programs or services there during the colder months of fall and winter?
Yes, so we're actually very excited to announce that we just received a $350,000 grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities to allow us to install a geothermal heating and air conditioning system in the building. And that will actually involve digging up the courtyard. We hope to be starting on that work in a couple of weeks. And as such, we will probably have to keep the courtyard closed through the winter while the work is going on, but we look very forward to reopening it in the spring and continuing the access for all of our neighbors and friends.
But you're also doing the Christmas candlelight tours, right? Bill?
That is correct. So we will be decorating for Christmas. We have 2 weekends in December where we will have Christmas candlelight tours, and we just posted those to our website. So that's another great way to come and experience the house during the holidays when I think it really looks at its most beautiful.
Great. Another question, when did the house become a museum? Were there other owners between the Glessners and when it became a museum?
Yeah, so the Glessners lived here for 50 years, and by that time Prairie Avenue had declined, so it was never used as a residence again. but the family donated it to what is now the Illinois Institute of Technology. And then it was later occupied by a printing foundation that did research for the printing industry. When they moved out, the plan was to demolish the building, and it was saved by a group of architects and preservationists in the mid-1960s. And they're amazing people. This was one of the really first big preservation success stories here in Chicago. And then, as you probably heard in the sneak peek video, the family then has returned virtually everything to us. So, you know, people walk in today and they think that Glessner House has just always looked the way that it has. And so we love to share with them that actually it went through this whole period where it looked entirely different. And we've spent the last half century bringing it back.
Wow. Were there things under COVID you wanted to try but didn't have a chance to yet?
That's a good question. We're always trying new things, and one of the things we would love to explore more, especially over the winter when it's possible we may slip back into phase 3 or more closures or that sort of thing, are some more collaborative things where we can work with other historic sites and that sort of thing to do some joint programming, perhaps some panel discussions, that sort of thing. So we would love to explore some of that, and of course many of those people are on meeting today, so we would love to share ideas with anybody who's interested.
I've got a similar question to that one. Is there anything that you would do differently looking back on all that you did this year? If you had the chance to do it all over again, anything that you would change?
Nothing immediately pops to mind. When we initially opened the courtyard, we only did it 5 days a week, and we discovered there was such a demand for it that we quickly extended it to 7 days a week. So I probably would have done that from the start. The other thing I thought about doing, and it was tough to do because my staff was all working from home, I was the only person here, but I had thought about, like, next summer when we're open, is to actually have more offerings in the courtyard. So people come in and just kind of do their own thing and have their kids or dogs run around, but actually have some regularly scheduled things. So like at lunchtime, you know, come and hear somebody talk for 10 minutes about the neighborhood, or just do a little bit more of that sort of thing. Now that we know that it's very consistent that people are coming in over and over again.
Bill, one of the things that you shared when we were planning for this event was just that opening the courtyard, as simple of a gesture as that was not necessarily something that the Glessner House normally did, right? So talk a little bit about your decision to do that. What prompted that?
Yeah, so, you know, when we were working through our strategic plan a couple years ago, one of the things we talked about was Glessner House really has a very fortress-like appearance when you look at it from the street. It does not naturally say welcome and come in. And we really thought a lot about that from kind of a marketing perspective. And I have to say, for some reason, we never really thought about the idea of simply opening our door to the courtyard. And so it just kind of popped up one day in my mind as shortly after we closed and the weather was starting to get nice. And I thought, you know, people are looking for places where they can kind of get away and just kind of be outside, but kind of be in a space where they don't have to worry about a lot of people being around us. And I thought, what if I opened up the courtyard? And it was one of those things where I thought, you know what, I may open the door and nobody may come in. And I was fully prepared for that. So I remember, like, those first couple days, I was constantly running over to my window to see if people were there. And I was amazed at how many people were coming in. And then we were starting to see all the comments on social media. And it was so fun to realize that just so many people a lot of people thought Glessner House was a place where people lived. Not today. Because we don't have a big sign in front of the house, and they were just so surprised to learn what it was. And then we also have a great self-guided walking tour brochure of the neighborhood, which we have out in a stand in the courtyard, and hundreds of those have been given away this summer. So I realized people are also not only exploring Glessner, but have taken the opportunity to explore the history of the whole neighborhood as well.
Wow, I think it's just amazing. Just amazing. I think that, you know, as someone who's talked to a lot of different museums in the Midwest during this time, there not only did everyone feel the urgency to make a a change or do something different to stay connected, everyone imagined that being a major endeavor, right? It had to be lots of high-tech solutions or, you know, and I feel like what's been an interesting lesson with your story is that it's those simple things, you know, it's being in touch with the community. It's such a key part of what you've been able to do this year. I have two more questions that came up in the chat that I think relate to this. One, how much of what you did during this time fits in with what you imagine for the Glessner House's future?
Yeah, so it really fit in very well. The exact way we did it was a little bit different, but one of the 5 main goals in our strategic plan was to broaden our visibility to the community and to find ways to expand beyond a historic house museum. And in fact, at the same time we did the plan, we actually opted to delete the word museum from our title because we felt Glessner House was more encompassing to things we wanted to do. So, you know, opening the courtyard and having, you know, local organizations use our space and that sort of thing fits in perfectly with this idea of really just becoming a resource to the neighborhood, which is essential for us. You know, giving tours will always be an important part of what we do, but 50 years ago, it was the main thing we did. Now it's one piece of many different things that we do. And the other thing I've said to my board is it's interesting because I feel so much more connected to the community than we did 8 months ago. And I would have never thought that that would have been achieved by actually closing our doors for 4 months.
Yeah, and if I may interject for 1 second, the William Morris face masks, a lot of people passed those on to friends who knew nothing about Glessner House. And in the interim that they've gotten that information about us, and a number of them who are just brand new and just got a face mask are now members.
Wow, it's amazing. And you know, those personal connections are the best way for word of mouth promotion. You know, that's such a key I guess marketing piece for museums anymore. Any kind of experience, really. So I would ask this question then as a follow-up to that. You know, there's so much that so many new connections and opportunities and partnerships this year. What was your relationship like? How would you describe your relationship with the, you know, neighborhood prior to the pandemic? Like, did you have other partners prior in the neighborhood, and some of those you continue to build on this year, or were many of them from this year brand new?
Yeah, so we have a great working relationship with the Prairie District Neighborhood Alliance, which is the main neighborhood group. And we had always opened our courtyard for their events, but we had primarily relied on them to be the one to kind of plan what the neighborhood wanted to do. With us opening the courtyard on our own, what we did is we actually took more of the lead on how we were going to work directly with residents of our community to find out what it is that Glessner House could provide for them. And it was fun because, I mean, what came out of this was things like a few of our weddings that we do in the courtyard and other parties and private events all came out of the fact that people walking into the courtyard saw the beautiful space, realized that they could actually rent it for their own events. You know, most of our neighbors live in condos and things where they don't have a yard. And I love the comment from one of the women who has actually had her son's birthday party here for a few years. And she's like, we just consider Glessner House to be our backyard because we don't have one of our own. So it's like, how wonderful is that people connect with that? And I love that the kids connect at an early age, because it's like, you know, they may not think much of a historic site, but they come to us and they just see it as a place where they're welcome and they can enjoy themselves.
That's great. That is, I feel like, a wonderful finish to our Q&A, and inspirational for all types of museums, not just historic houses. And as Jennifer Scott just posted, you know, the idea of museums being kind of part of the neighborhood in people's backyard. You were the people's backyard this year. Well, Bill and Francesca and everyone at Glessner, once again, congratulations on this award. You know, we at AMM are very proud to honor you today with the Silver Lining Award. Very proud of the work that you've done. I hope that everyone who joined us today enjoyed learning more, and we'll add Glessner House to their list of places to see in the coming year, hopefully, whenever they can visit or get out and about and do that. I would like to just one more time invite everybody to give another round of applause for the team at the Glessner House. You can feel free to unmute if you wish.
Yay!
And go for walks.
Yay!
Yay, Bill. Yay, Bill.
And now, as we wrap up our event, I'd like to ask that Bill and Francesca and other staff members who are with Glessner House and on the call today to stay after, along with Brenda, and we'll do a quick photo in virtual space here of the team with your award. Thanks to all who came and joined us today from wherever you joined from. It was great to see you. Thanks for being here, and hope to see you at future events.